This is a good go-to verse when you're talking to people and they can't see about that Yahweh is not his father. John 8:19. Then he said, then said they unto him, and in your English you're going to see, where is your father? Like, as in, what location is he in? And that little word in Greek goes by what the surrounding sentence says. When he says, you know neither me nor my father, you know it's supposed to be who. Who is thy father? If he'd have said, oh, father lives in Jerusalem, or something like that, then you could assume that word is supposed to have been written, because it's who, where, what. It can mean all those things. So it goes by the context when you're looking at the Greek. So now I'm going to read this like it should have been written. Then he said unto him, who is thy father? And Jesus answered, ye know neither me nor my father. If you had known me, you should have known my father also. So he's answering them back with, you don't know who he is. And you can tell this in other places too. Like there's a verse where he asked them, who is the Christ's father? Somebody said that was to make them think, but it wasn't. He legitimately asked them who was supposed to be the Christ's father. People don't see it. But this is something to think about. And this is another big one. I and the Father are one. He tells them flat out, we're one thing. This one, it says, this is John 14:9. Jesus said unto him, I have been so long with you, and yet y'all has not known me, Philip. He said, he that hath seen me has seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? That's point blank saying, I'm the Father, basically. I mean, it'd be hard to read any other way. Now, this is even stronger. This is John 14:7. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. That's about as intense as it gets. When you see him, you've seen the Father. And this is the reason that he was telling them this about who they were worshiping. In John 8:31 through, well, I pulled 31 because it kind of gives you an idea who he's talking to. But when you get down to 44 is where it really starts. But I say, so Jesus said unto the Jews, and then I dropped to 48:4, you are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desire. He was an unaliver from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there's no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And he flat out told them the person that they're calling their father was the devil. And then when you look at John 5:45, he calls Moses the accuser, and the word for accuser that he uses is kategoros. And kategoros in Greek means specifically the Satan. Do not think that I accuse you to the Father. Your accuser is Moses, the one that you trust. You're trusting in the wrong one, guys. You're trusting in the one that wants to accuse you. This is hard for a lot of people to swallow and to digest, but we've got several verses where he says, love your enemies. First one I'm going to read is Matthew 5:44. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless those that curse you, and do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. That's a tall order, because he's talking about people that'll hate you, people that will use you and persecute you. That's really hard to do. Luke 6:27. But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them that hate you. Again, there's a strong word. Luke 6:35. But love your enemies and do good and lend, hoping for nothing gain. And your reward shall be great, and you shall be children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and unto the evil. So the Father in heaven is kind even to those that are evil. We're going to read, this is a book I have at the house. It's a stone edition Tanakh. And the reason for the first verses that I pulled the Tanakhs, because I don't want anybody on here that's Jewish saying I'm reading the wrong thing and I'm not reading their book and it don't read like that. And I want them to know that, yes, it does read exactly like that. First one I pulled is Deuteronomy 21:10 through 14. And I don't have this online, so I just did a photocopy of it. When you would go out to war against your enemies, okay, so this is talking about the enemies we're supposed to love, and Hashem, your God, will deliver him into your hand, and you will capture its captivity, and you will see among its captivity a woman who is beautiful of form, and you will desire her. You may take her to yourself for a wife. You shall bring her to the midst of your house. She shall shave her head and let her nails grow. She shall remove the garment of her captivity from upon herself and sit in your house, and she shall weep for her father and for her mother for a full month. Thereafter you may come into her and live with her, and she shall be a wife to you. But it shall be, if you do not desire her, then you shall send her on her own. But you may not sell her for money. You shall not enslave her, because you have afflicted her. That's pretty intense. Can you imagine going in and unaliving a whole village, then taking the women or the virgins or whoever and taking them home, making the person shave their head, clipping their fingernails, because the other versions say clip, I'm going to read the others too, say clipping the nails off, and make them sit there and grieve for the people that you unalived, and then you're going to go into her and then call her your wife. How do you think that person's going to feel about you at that point? Does that sound like love your enemies? Does that sound like, or does that just sound pure evil to you? It sounds pure evil to me. And they've got a little note on here about why this is in there. And it says, and this is 21:11 of Deuteronomy, and they put this little note in there. It said, the Torah responds to the often inflamed passion of a soldier in battle. Rather than risk sin, the Torah provides an avenue for the lustful soldier to satisfy his desire, so that it will cool before it causes more harm. That's pretty sad. Pretty darn sad. The next verse, the next part, I didn't cover it, but it talks about the hated wife. And that's probably because of this. Can you imagine them having another wife and then doing this to something? I mean, I can't put this in my head. I can't wrap it around my head and make it all right. And you can sit in these Torah portions. I went into Hebrew roots, and I can't believe I even did it for as long as I did, because they justify, well, they were evil. They had to be taken out. Their children were going to be monsters or something. They're going to be defective. It's like there's some kind of reason every time they come across something like this. It's wrong. It's evil. This one I'm reading from the Israel Bible, and this is a very popular one. This was done by a rabbi out in California, and they sell a lot of these. I have one of these too. I have almost all of these books. And this is what it looks like. If you ever come across one. And it says, when you take the field against your enemy, the field, they've changed it to a field now, because this is a more modern version. And Hashem your God delivers them unto your power, and you take some of them captive. See, they've taken it from taking them all captive to taking some of them. And you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire her, and would take her to a wife. You shall bring her into your house, and she shall trim her hair and par her nails. That's a lot different than what it actually reads in Hebrew. She'll shave her head, and it literally says cut her all her nails off. And that's probably so she don't scratch him to death, being he's going to grape her. And I have to use that word. I can't use the other word. Then should you no longer want her, you must release her outright. You must not sell her for money, since you have had your will with her. You must not enslave her. If And then the next one goes into the two wives. And that's probably because at this point now they got two wives. This is some pretty sick stuff, even in the modern version. This is what our New American Standard Bible has from 1995. This is one I read a lot. It's a pretty literal translation, to say the least. Some places they don't get it right, but it's pretty literal. And it says, when you go into battle against your enemies, the Lord your God delivers them unto your hands, and you take them away captive, and see among the captives a beautiful woman, and have desire for her, and would take her as your wife for yourself. Then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. She shall also remove the clothes of her captivity, and shall remain in your house, and mourn her father and her mother a full month. And after that you may go to her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. It shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall not let her go, wherever she wishes, but you shall certainly not sell her for money. You shall not mistreat her, because you have humbled her. Well, they said afflicted, and this says humbled. When you look at their little footnotes for the actual literal, under trim her nails, it said do her nails. So I don't know what that means. And then H, let's see, that's where remove her clothes is what it says. And I is down there. You shall let go according to her soul. Whatever, you know. And then where it says you shall not mistreat her, that's also according to her soul. This is the one everybody likes so much, the KJV. Let's see if we get any better take on this Torah portion from here. When thou goest forth to war against the enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast desire unto her, then thou wouldest have her to a wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and par her nails, and she shall put raiment of captivity upon her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that you shall go into her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be that if you have no delight in her, then shall you let her go, whether she will. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. I don't care what version you're reading. You're still going to see the same horrible presentation of what's happening. This one is from Chabad.org. This is their Tanakh, and we're going to read it too, because I don't want to leave any stone unturned here, because I don't want somebody to say I didn't read theirs at all. Deuteronomy 21:10. If you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God will deliver them unto your hands, and you take his captives, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire her, you may take her for yourself as a wife. You shall bring her into your home. She shall shave her head, and let her nails grow. This one says let them grow. And she shall remove the garment of her captivity from upon herself, and stay in your house, and weep for her father and her mother for a full month. After that you may be intimate with her, and possess her, and she will be a wife to you. And it will be, if you do not desire her, then you shall send her away, wherever she wishes. But you shall not sell her for money, and you shall not keep her as a servant, because you have afflicted her. So this one goes right on out and tells you that you can possess her and be intimate with her, which is what the others imply. So basically they're telling them, now how happy do you think you would be if you were taken captive as a woman? They shaved your hands, cut your nails, left you sitting there grieving your mother and father that they just unalived for a month, and then this man comes in and grapes you. And you want to accept this as God. These instructions. It's like, I have a serious issue with that. People want to know why I walked away from the Old Testament. This is why. Shouldn't Shouldn't have been unaliving anybody. Shouldn't have been taking their booty and their plunder. And that's all through the Old Testament. Go in, take them all out. Men, women, children, animals, everybody. And then take the booty and the plunder for yourself and the land. And then this, too. It should make people sick. It made me sick when I got to this part and they were sitting there. I can't remember whose Torah portion it was I was in, but I went off, man. I just went off on them because they were trying to justify it. And you can't justify this kind of evil. I don't care what anybody says. That's not Father. And that's why he told them, you know neither me nor my Father. And that's why he told them that you are of your father, the devil. That he was an unaliver and a liar from the beginning, from the Genesis. And here's another one that's just kind of disgusting. Judges 21:8 through 15. And they said, what one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpeh to the Lord? And behold, there came none to the camp from the Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead, I can't say that word, with the edge of the sword, and the women and the children. And this is the thing that you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that has laid with a man. So in other words, they didn't want anybody that wasn't a virgin to come back as a captive. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had known no man by lying with them, any male, and they had brought them into the camp of Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. And the whole congregation sent someone to speak to the children of Benjamin, and that were at the rock of Rimmon, and called peacefully to them. And Benjamin came at that time. They gave them wives that they had saved alive of the women, where they had smited everybody in that same city, and yet they sufficed them not. And the people repented them for Benjamin, because the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. So they did the same thing we just heard about in the other one, here with 400 women. Slavery. And I don't know how any black man, and I hope that's the appropriate term to use, could ever accept this Old Testament as Father. Because you look at this stuff, and it's talking about making slaves of each other and other people. That's all I got right there. I put one in the picture so you could see what it looks like. It's like an ice pick. And you drive an ice pick through their ear because they're your possession, then yes, you are a slave at that point. This is how it reads. It's Exodus 21:1 through 6. And this is just part of it. These are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall they serve. In the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. With what raiment he came in with, and the like, let him go out. If he has a wife, his wife also shall go out with him. But if his master gave him a wife, and she has borne sons and daughters, the woman and the children shall be her master's. But he himself shall go out in his raiment. So if she has children, that's different. He keeps that. And if the servant shall say, I love my master and my wife and my children, I will not go out free, his master shall bring him to the gods, it says, and this is KJV, and he shall be set to the door and the post, and he shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall be his slave forever. There's no way you stack that up and accept that that's slavery. And I know they'll say, well, it was like working a job. Working a job, they don't drag you to the door and take an awl and put a hole in your ear. And you're free to leave and go get another job. It's evil. And Jesus says it's evil. I looked at John 15:15 today because this is a verse that he's speaking about this. I say unto you, you are no longer slaves, that the slave did not know what the Lord does. But I declare, loving friends, that all that heard from my Father recognize me. And that's what it literally says in Greek. I went through and checked every word. I had my suspicions on that verse, and I was right. If any man sell his daughter, let's go sell our daughter now. You can sell your kid. She shall not go out as a bondswoman and aren't to go out. That's literal translation. I went and picked it up out of the Young's Literal, and it says, and when a man sells his daughter of a slave for a slave girl, she shall not go out as a male slaves go out. She won't be ever released. She's stuck when he sells his daughter. She don't get the 6-year release, is what that's saying. In verse 8, if she displeasures the eyes of the master to whom she was delivered, he shall let her go, and he shall have no power to sell her in a foreign nation, if he despise her. But if he had betrothed her to his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of the daughters. And if he take another wife for him, he shall provide her a marriage and raiment, neither shall he refuse the price of her chastity. If he does not these 3 things, she shall go out free without money. So it's about money. And when you see that word for making her a slave girl or a bondswoman, when you look at that in Brown Driver Briggs, which is one of the most reputable books for defining Hebrew terms, it means a maidservant, a female slave, a maid, a handmaid, or a concubine. They sell their own daughter as a concubine. And it goes on here in Exodus 21:12. He that strikes a man with the will to unalive him shall be put to unalivement. But he that did not lie in wait for him, but God delivered him into his hand, I will appoint thee a place to which he must flee. So if God appointed him to do it, or they say God appointed them to do it, then they can just flee to another place. He'll appoint a place. If a man unalives his neighbor on set purpose, or with some kind of reason, I guess, and by lying in wait for him, then shall take him away from my altar, that he may be unalived. And he that strikes his father or his mother shall be put to unalivement. And I had to change those words or they'll pop us off of here. He shall steal a man and sell him, being convicted of guilt, shall be put to unalivement. He that curses his father or his mother shall be unalived. He that strikes his male slave or bondsman, or female slave or bondwoman with a rod, and they unalive under his hand, shall be guilty of the crime. But if the party remains alive a day or 2, he shall not be subject to the punishment, because it is his money. The person is his money. I mean, this is just, it's insane. So you can beat them with a rod just as long as you don't unalive them. But if it waits a day or 2 and they don't expire until then you're not subject to the punishment, because it's his money on the line. And here, Exodus 21, it goes on to 22. The men quarrel, and one strikes a woman, and the child, and she miscarry. Indeed, but live herself, he shall be answerable for as much damage as the woman's husband shall require. And so his arbitrator shall award. So there'll be some kind of monetary thing placed on that, I guess. But if her unalivement ensues thereupon, he shall render life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. If any man strike the eye of his manservant or his maidservant, and leave them but one eye, he shall let them go free. For the eye which he put out, also if he strike out a tooth out of his manservant or his maidservant, he shall in like manner make them free. Now, what did Jesus tell us? You have heard it been said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that he resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him also the other. And if any man will sue thee at law, take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. He's flat out telling you this mess is evil and it's wrong. Because what is this? This is what he told us. John 13:34 and 35. A new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I loved you. That you love one another. He said it twice. By this they shall know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. You won't be sticking around in that, because it'll turn your stomach, especially if you start doing Torah portions and you're studying it and you literally read it and you actually pay attention to what you're reading. You're going to walk away because you know it's evil in your heart. Father gives us a heart when we're born, and we know right from wrong when we're born. And you're not going to strike somebody. You're not going to steal from somebody. You're not going to unalive somebody. You're not going to covet somebody else's property if you love Father. I'm sorry, guys, but this just needed to be said. I wrangled with somebody for 3 hours last night, and I'm like, if you can't see it with this, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong with your heart. What happened to the heart Father gave you?